Welcome to Engineering Culture, where we discuss how to build a culture through teamwork, accountability, and competitive greatness with thought leaders, that is coaches, superintendents, principals, all of those things. We are engineering culture, trying to build it. My guest this week and this time is I'm excited about because he's a great man. And if you've ever had a conversation with Creighton women's basketball coach Jim Flanery, it might take you a while to get through the conversation, but I'm kind of that way too. So, Coach, thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Good to be here. And yes, we're cut from the same cloth. We both we both can talk.
Yeah, we have a time limit on this. We'll see if we hit that. So my first question, I guess, is what is culture to you? Define it, I guess, because if you look up the Webster's dictionary version, it says something, but it also means something to, I think, if you ask 100 people, you'll get 99 different answers.
Well, I think to me, it means that everybody within the organization, or almost everybody, wants the same things, and they're willing to go about things in a way that don't compromise their goals. And because I just think there's so many different agendas when you get, whether it's a team or an organization, and we all have some degree of selfishness. It's not, you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't like it. So there is some degree of selfishness within a team or a company or a classroom or whatever. But I think it's when people kind of have the same goals and mindset, and they're willing to do a lot of the same things to get there. And a small amount of skepticism, I think, is okay. You will, if players ask me, why we're doing something a certain way, I have to. It's not because they don't trust me, but I think that those sorts of things can build trust. But I do think that you also have a trusting relationship with most everybody within the team or within the organization that you're talking about. So to me, those are kind of staples. We talk a lot about trust within our team of Creighton women's basketball and open lines of communication. And I tell players all the time that they have the ability and even responsibility to come in and talk and ask me why they're not playing as much, or what do they need to do to get better. And by the same token, I'm oftentimes willing to admit that I'm wrong, or I'll walk into a locker room here and there and be like, man, I didn't help you guys that fourth quarter. I wasn't who I needed to be, or so it may be a team sort of thing, or it may be even with an individual. Hey, I need to figure out better how to coach you, help me get there. So certainly the communication piece is huge, but that starts with trust and kind of a common set of goals.
I was going to ask about trust because, just you and I's conversations in the past, there's conversations that aren't public that don't need to be, right? And I think that it's just a built-in kind of, it's a known that, hey, this is this conversation stays here without having to say it. Is that kind of your style, I guess? What would your style be when it comes to developing trust with your players?
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. I think it's knowing things about them that maybe you don't have to know, so that they understand that it's more than basketball with me. That I try to dig a little bit on what their family is doing, or what how their family is doing, or how our class is going, and tell me what I was a philosophy major, so I'm asking them, okay, what are you guys reading in philosophy, and why don't you like that? Because they usually tell me they don't like philosophy. But so to me, it's about, and again, as a head coach and as somebody who's older now, I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to have the same relationship with our 20-year-old players as my assistant coaches are, who are much younger. who are females and who don't necessarily have the, in their mind, the power to determine playing time or not. So I'm not going to have the same relationship, but I've got to do everything I can to build the best relationship I can with them. And to me, it goes to asking them questions about how they're doing away from the court, and having an open line of communication. Hey, my office is, I once had a player tell me, well, I never want to go bother you because I just assume you're busy. And I'm like, well, you're the most important piece of our, like, if I'm not about you, then what am I about? I'm about, you hope that they recognize that they're the centerpiece of everything that you do. And if you don't kind of get that across by the time they've been here 4 years, then you probably haven't done your job.
Yeah. You have, I guess, your big kind of family atmosphere guy, right? As far as Creighton women's basketball. And you've talked a little bit about it already, but like, is there a time, without saying names, is there a time that you can say, you know what, we had to really rely on our Creighton women's basketball family to get through something? And is there an example of that you kind of point to that pops in your head?
Well, I think, I guess I would say that we have, we listen to particularly our younger players, and what are we seeing from them? How much are they struggling? And I think we talk about them a lot as a staff. Okay, what are some warning signs about where they are? Because we feel like the danger zone for players is usually that first year to year and a half, and once they get to midway through their sophomore year, they're in a much better position to to be able to have things fall off their back easier. It isn't as much life and death as it is that first year, and so we try to be really vigilant about how we're taking care of and nurturing our younger players and relying on our older players. Hey, how is freshman A doing? What do you see? How, so that it's not just is our staff doing, but we also would then encourage them to, hey, I need you to go home this weekend. Okay. I need you. And so we're really mindful of that their freshman year, because at the end of the day, what's really helped our culture is that we've retained. I've made the comment before, the reason we haven't lost people is because we haven't lost them. And we've always had juniors and seniors in our locker room who have been at Creighton as freshmen and sophomores. So you might have juniors and seniors in your locker room, but they came from somewhere else. They transferred in. They weren't freshmen at Creighton before. So if we can keep them and really do the best that we can that first year to year and a half, then I know that when those guys get to be juniors and seniors, they're going to be there for those younger players who are struggling. And you're going to struggle. We tell them, we're honest up front. Hey, it's going to be a little harder academically. It's going to be a little harder on the basketball court. And even if you're from Lincoln, you're going to have some degree of, it might not be homesickness, it might be otherness. It's different than high school. There's a little bit more responsibility, and that can be good, but it also can be intimidating. So we just try to really be nurturing in those first summer, that first fall and into the spring, and we talk to our upperclassmen about how to help them, but also we rely on those upperclassmen to help us with warning signs, because we feel like if we can keep them, that makes our job easier. Because I can't relate to an 18-year-old the way a 21-year-old who was just there 3 years ago can relate to him. I mean, I went to Creighton, but it was a heck of a long time ago.
So you're also, part of your culture is developing leaders because of the example you just said. So leadership, like impactful leaders
Yeah.
So leadership, trust, those are the key kind of words I think that I've gathered just through this brief conversation so far.
Yeah, for sure. And we do it. Hey, do you guys want, we look a little tired. Do you want to have a shoot around tomorrow? Or do you guys want to, if you want to come in on your own and shoot, you can come in. Do you want a formal shoot around? If we're on the road and we've got a 2-game road trip, what do you guys want to do? We ask them what they want to do on road trips. Do you want to, do you guys want to get out of the hotel and do something? We rely on them. And even to the point where in game, it's like, I'll say, hey, do you guys want to switch that screen? We're getting hurt on that screen. Do you want to, would you rather switch it? And, Emma, do you want the ball on the right block or the left block? Where do you want the ball? Because I think those things build confidence, right? It's not just trust. They build confidence. It's like, hey, I know that you can see, I'm trusting that you see the game maybe better than I do. You're the one out there playing it and you've played it and you know what I'm thinking. Tell me what you're thinking. And, and I'm not going to ask a first semester freshman where she wants the ball because she doesn't know yet.
Right.
But I'm a junior or senior. What do you guys see that we haven't addressed and just giving them that power. And then I try to do that with my staff too. I try to stay in my lane and not get, give them, empower them because I feel like they're more likely to have the ear of again, they're younger, they're all female. They're more likely to have the ear of that 18 to 20-year-old than I am. So I'm plenty comfortable, drifting back just far enough that I don't have to know everything that's going on.
That's on purpose, right?
Yeah.
As far as your staff and that, I mean,
it hasn't always been that way, but yeah, I mean, I feel like as I get older, I don't want, I'm not kicking anybody off of our staff, but I like the fact that my staff is younger. I made fun of them the other day because we were having trouble in our film session of just even getting the film to work. And I said, gosh, dang it, you guys. I mean, you're all under 40 and you can't figure out technology better than I can. I'm going to go get somebody younger then, I guess. But yeah, I think, and that's natural as you get older and you get more, you have less head coach paranoia.
Yeah.
Because you've done it long enough that not everything is life or death. You're able to give away more of what you thought you could do. Maybe when you first become a head coach, you don't want to mess it up, right? That's your main goal. Is this might be the only chance I get. So I think there's a tendency to be a little more controlling and, hey, we're going to do it my way. We're going to do it. We're going to do these things my way. And I think as you get a little older, you're like, well, my expertise is not in. I only have, X areas of expertise. There are still things I'm not good at. I need to get rid of those things and trust that they're going to be fine handled by somebody else.
Basically, it comes with, I guess, experience certainly matters and changes your just mindset on. I mean, I know young coaches that want to control everything, be involved in everything. Frankly, I guess I've been that guy. Where I need to have my hand in this and this and this and this, and I need to have the right answer for all of this. And when I finally mentally let that go, and was like, okay, like I can trust this person to do it for me, or trust this thing. That's a huge kind of relief too, and it kind of iron sharpens iron,
right?
I guess, right?
Right, because you need. Yes, I think your strengths need to become, sounds crazy, but your strengths need to become stronger. Especially, right. I feel like as I get older, like there are certainly things that I have proven that I'm not very good at. I've got a longer window of things that I know I don't do well. So I got to trust other people, and I need to concentrate on being better at the things that I'm already reasonably good at. And if I can do that and just get by in some other areas, not then that can be important, and that can be helpful. But it takes a while to get to that point. I mean, because like I said, you have this vision, but you need others in order for others to buy into that vision, you need to show them that you trust them, and sometimes in some areas, there's no one right way to do something. So there are times where I probably half disagree with a direction an assistant coach is going with something, but if it's something that probably isn't going to impact us long term, I let them go with that, because I feel like it's better to empower them and build their confidence and their belief in us and the program than it is for me to nitpick as to why we're doing it this way, when maybe it would be a 1 or 2 or 5% better if we did it a different way. But so there are things that I think you have to overlook, or at least be willing to let others lead the way.
Believe in us. I like that part. That's something I've said a lot recently in the last 2 years, I guess. Do you have a mantra or a saying that you hang your hat on? Does it change year by year? Do you even get into all of that, talk like that?
No, I really don't. And we don't. I mean, I'll bring things up, I'll read something maybe, or and I'll talk about that maybe before practice or after practice, or even in a staff meeting, and we'll take it to the practice court. But I don't have that. I feel like and we don't have a rule book. I know that's crazy, but we don't, we tell them to be respectful and, I guess maybe be on time and have a good attitude. But I just think you can get so far in the weeds with rules, and once you do that, you're to me, it's more about expectations than rules, and rules are kind of this baseline minimum thing. And if we're really about excellence, we're not worried about, things that we're not worried about baselines. And so we'll address, if we see something getting a little bit, an issue getting a little bigger than we hoped it would get, we'll address it, and we'll address it either as a team or individually, or we'll just have a conversation. But we try to treat them like they're adults, and give them room to make mistakes. I think that's part of college. I think if you're in college coaching, you want the mistakes to be small. You don't want them to be front page headlines.
Right.
And that can be trickier now, because everything is, available to be consumed. But we try to, I don't want them to think I'm controlling their life. I want them to experience college, make a mistake or two, and then we'll talk about it. And, but we typically recruit good enough kids that we do have the mistakes that they make are not front page mistakes.
That was going to be my net. You said the last sentence there, recruit. I was going to ask for our last question here for you is how important is recruiting just good human beings, or people that that, hey, we don't have rules, but if I recruit the right player that fits what I like in my program, then I won't have to worry about having rules. Right.
That's exactly it. We've typically waited a little bit longer to offer kids than a lot of programs. I mean, I wouldn't say drag our feet, but we'll try to get a little bit more information, because we want to, we don't want to be surprised by too many things. And that is, we're not going to know everything about them when they get here, or as much as we maybe could know, but we don't want to jump too early. And that's tricky too, right? Because if I'm recruiting a kid from Omaha, and I might talk to 20 people about that kid. Well, there's probably one person that doesn't like that kid, even if she's a great, great kid, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas if I'm recruiting a kid from the Twin Cities, I'm probably only talking to 2 people, the club coach and the high school coach. And if they both say glowing things about her, okay, then she gets the sign off. Whereas, if you get one or two negative comments about somebody who's a little closer to home, then you've got to say, well, okay, is that somebody who's just got an axe to grind, or is that legitimate? So those things all play into it too. And we look at parents. I mean, if a parent's a little bit crazy, a little bit emotional in a game, okay, maybe that's, like sport is emotional, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
But if a parent is crazy, we typically will not even give the kid a look, because that's not going to change, right? That is not going to change. And we need their ear enough. I mean, we want our players to have relationships with their parents, and we're not,
right.
I want them to call home, and if they're frustrated with Flan, they can vent. Right. That's fine. They can vent. But if the parent is 100% of the time going to take the kid's side, then it's probably not going to work, right? So we don't want to recruit kids whose parents are beyond, if they're the worst parent in the gym, we're probably not going to be too interested.
Weird how we've said this for a long time as far as the recruiting world's concerned. Hey, it's not just the kid on the court; it's everything involved with it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Because in the college game, they spend a lot of time in high school. I know chemistry is obviously important, but they also go home at night and they're with their own families. In college, they're in the cafeteria together. They're in the residence hall together. So if they don't get along, it's really hard to put lipstick on it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. All right, Coach. Well, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it. Appreciate the conversation as always, and talk to you down the road.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
A Hurrdat Sports Network production.